The Silent Ultimatum. For centuries, humanity dreamed of the stars, imagining benevolent aliens who would guide us into a golden age of interstellar prosperity. That dream shattered when the Phyrexians arrived in 2087. They came with sleek silver ships and promises of technology, medicine, and prosperity. Earth's governments, divided as always, scrambled to welcome them. The United Nations established the Interstellar Relations Committee, and within months, Earth had signed the Galactic Integration Treaty. Captain Maya Chen stood on the observation deck of Orbital Defense Station Alpha, watching the latest Phyrexian cruiser dock with the station. 6 years into humanity's partnership with the galactic community, and Earth had received nothing but table scraps and condescension. "They're bringing another cultural attaché," said Lieutenant Commander Jackson, joining her at the viewport. "Fourth one this month." Maya nodded grimly. Cultural attaches were how the Phyrexians smuggled in their surveillance equipment and resource analyzers. While Earth's representatives still believed in the promises of alien friendship, Maya and a growing number of military personnel saw the truth. Earth was being colonized in slow motion. The Secretary General sending another formal complaint. Jackson continued, "For all the good it'll do, and the Phyrexians will ignore it, just like the last 6. Maya replied. 2 months later, the Duraxians arrived. If the Phyrexians were condescending partners, the Duraxians were outright conquerors. Massive warships, bristling with weapons that could atomize cities, positioned themselves over every major capital. Their demands were simple. Earth would provide resources, labor, and territory. Resistance would mean annihilation. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Despite fierce debate, Earth had no choice but to acquiesce. The Duraxian occupation began with the establishment of mining operations across the planet, stripping Earth of rare minerals and metals at an alarming rate. In the shadows, however, something was stirring. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in bunkers carved into the Earth's crust, General William Hayes was gathering the most brilliant minds humanity had to offer. Physicists, engineers, AI specialists, military strategists. They worked in absolute secrecy, their existence unknown even to most world governments. "Project Nemesis is ahead of schedule," reported Dr. Eliza Wong, her holographic display showing schematics for a propulsion system unlike anything humanity had officially developed. The prototype exceeded all expectations. General Hayes nodded. "And the quantum shield? Operational on all test vessels," Dr. Wong confirmed. "The aliens can't detect them, can't track them, can't even see them unless we want to be seen." For 15 years, while Earth publicly bowed and scraped, Project Nemesis worked tirelessly. Asteroid bases were established in secret, hidden in gravity wells, and powered by revolutionary fusion technology. AI systems designed specifically for warfare evolved at an exponential rate. Ships were built, not the clumsy, primitive vessels that Earth officially possessed, but sleek predators armed with weapons that could tear through the most advanced alien defenses. On March 17, 2108, the Duraxians announced their intention to relocate 2 billion humans to off-world labor colonies. The United Nations, now little more than a puppet organization, issued an official protest. The Duraxian ambassador laughed during the Security Council meeting, openly mocking humanity's impotence. That night, Earth broadcast a message to every alien embassy and outpost: withdraw all forces from Earth and its orbital space within 48 hours, or face consequences. The message was met with derision. The Phyrexian High Council issued a statement calling it the tantrum of a child species not yet ready for its place in the galaxy. The Duraxian fleet commander ordered his ships to begin the mass relocation immediately, rather than waiting for the planned date. 48 hours later, Earth went dark. All communications ceased. Alien observers reported that human cities had shut down, power grids offline, military bases emptied. The Duraxians assumed it was a primitive attempt at resistance, a global blackout to hamper their operations. They were wrong. Deep in the void between Mars and Jupiter, the Nemesis fleet emerged from quantum stealth. 500 warships, each a masterpiece of engineering that should have been impossible for humans to create. At their center was the HSS Retribution, a dreadnought 17 kilometers long, commanded by Admiral Maya Chen. All ships, deploy to assigned targets, she ordered calmly. Execute Operation Guillotine. Across the solar system, human ships appeared from nowhere. The Doraxian mining fleet over Earth was reduced to atoms before they could even raise their shields. The Vrexian embassy ships attempting to flee were captured intact, their crews secured as prisoners of war. But the true shock came beyond the solar system. At every major jump gate connecting to alien homeworlds, human warships materialized, weapons primed. The entire galactic transportation network was suddenly, impossibly, under human control. On Doraxia Prime, the planet's orbital defense grid detected an anomaly at the edge of their system. The HSS Vigilance, a human destroyer, decloaked directly above the Doraxian High Command. Before planetary defenses could respond, a single message was broadcast planet-wide. You were warned. Earth now controls every jump gate to your system. No ships enter. No ships leave. You are blockaded until further notice. Similar scenes played out across 27 major systems. Species that had never taken humanity seriously suddenly found themselves cut off from the rest of the galaxy, their space lanes controlled by the very species they had dismissed as primitive. On the Galactic Council, panic erupted. Emergency sessions were called, but half the Council representatives couldn't attend. Their planets were blockaded. The Argosian ambassador, one of the few who had advocated for treating humans with respect, addressed the diminished assembly. For decades, we exploited them, mocked them, treated them as inferior. Now we face the consequences of our arrogance. Impossible, shouted the Krell diplomat, his tentacles writhing in agitation. How could they have built such a fleet in secret? Our intelligence said they were at least a century from developing quantum shields. Did your intelligence also tell you that humans are the only known species whose history is defined by constant warfare? The Argosian asked quietly. That they evolved as persistence hunters who never give up. That they thrive under pressure and unite against external threats. Aboard the Retribution, Admiral Chen received reports from all battle groups. The blockade was in place, with minimal resistance. Only the Vrexian home fleet had attempted to challenge a human battle group, and they had been neutralized with shocking efficiency. Admiral, her communications officer called. We're receiving thousands of transmissions from the blockaded worlds. Most are demands for explanation, but some are offering unconditional surrender. Maya smiled grimly. Send them all the same response. Earth remembers. In the secure bunker beneath the Pacific, now serving as Earth's military headquarters, General Hayes addressed the United Earth Defense Council. Representatives from every nation stood in grim solidarity. For 15 years we endured. We bent the knee while building our strength in secret, Hayes said. Now we hold the galaxy by the throat. What are our demands? Asked the Chinese representative. Hayes looked around the room. Justice, reparations, and a guarantee that no species will ever again mistake our patience for weakness. As the first day of the blockade ended, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. Humanity, the species that had been mocked and exploited, now controlled the fate of civilizations that had existed for thousands of years before humans had even discovered fire. The galaxy had ignored Earth's warnings. Now they would learn what that mistake would cost them. The Reckoning Protocol. The second week of what the galaxy now called the Human Blockade saw desperate attempts at negotiation. The Vrexian High Council, their homeworld strangled by human warships, sent 17 separate peace delegations. Each was met with the same response: silence and the impenetrable wall of Earth's quantum-shielded vessels. On the bridge of the HSS Retribution, Admiral Chen reviewed the tactical display showing all blockade points across the galaxy. The human fleet, impossibly vast for a species that supposedly possessed only a handful of primitive interplanetary vessels, maintained perfect formation at every jump gate and major space lane. The Duraxians attempted to break through at their tertiary jump gate, reported Commander Oka for 3 dreadnoughts supported by fighter wings. Casualties? Maya asked. None on our side. The Duraxian fleet was disabled with electromagnetic pulse weapons. Their crews have been placed in stasis and their ships towed to the holding point in the Kuiper Belt. Maya nodded. Earth's strategy wasn't about destruction. It was about control. The advanced weapons that the Nemesis Project had developed weren't designed to annihilate, but to dominate. Quantum shields rendered human ships virtually untouchable, while gravity pulse cannons could disable enemy vessels without destroying them. Back on Earth, in what had once been the United Nations headquarters, but was now the Earth Defense Command Center, General Hayes conducted a video conference with the remaining members of the Galactic Council. Your blockade violates 17 different articles of galactic law, declared the Zeth ambassador, his crystalline form vibrating with indignation. Hayes smiled coldly. The same laws that allowed the Duraxians to claim Earth as a resource world. The same laws that permitted the Phyrexians to establish surveillance networks throughout our cities. Those laws. What do you want? Asked the Argosian representative, the only one who seemed to understand the gravity of the situation. The Reckoning Protocol. Hayes replied simply. The council chamber fell silent. The Reckoning Protocol was an ancient provision in galactic law, rarely invoked and never against multiple species simultaneously. It required a full accounting of all transgressions against the invoking species, followed by proportionate restitution as determined by a neutral arbiter. That's unprecedented, stammered the Zeth ambassador. So was the coordinated exploitation of an emerging species, Hayes countered. You have 48 hours to agree to the protocol. After that, we escalate. The transmission ended, leaving the council in stunned silence. Meanwhile, deep within the HSS Retribution's secure compartments, Dr. Eliza Wong worked with a team of scientists and the ship's AI to analyze alien technology captured during the initial strikes. Earth had maintained a deliberate technological gap in its public face, appearing decades behind its actual capabilities. This had allowed human intelligence to gather invaluable data on alien weaknesses while revealing nothing of Earth's true advancements. Their quantum communication network relies on a frequency pattern we can disrupt, Dr. Wong explained to Admiral Chen during a secure briefing. If necessary, we can isolate their worlds not just physically but informationally. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Maya replied. Isolation is one thing. Deliberately causing civilizational collapse is another. 24 hours before Hayes' deadline, the Duraxian High Command made their move. Not through military action. They had learned the futility of that. But through a targeted biological attack. Dormant nanites, planted during their occupation of Earth, activated in major cities, designed to target human neural pathways. They hadn't accounted for Nemesis Project's medical division. Within 3 hours, the nanites had been neutralized, their control signals traced back to a hidden Duraxian facility on Earth's moon. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The human warships blockading Duraxia Prime moved into attack formation. However, instead of opening fire, they deployed what the aliens would later call the Silence, a quantum field that disabled every piece of technology on the planet's surface. Transportation, communication, power generation, all ceased to function. This is Admiral Maya Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet, her transmission cut through the darkness that had fallen across Duraxia Prime. Your attempted genocide has been noted and logged in the Reckoning Protocol. The technology shutdown will continue for 72 hours, 1 hour for every human killed by your nanite attack. When it ends, you will face the judgment of the protocol. Across the galaxy, the message was clear. Earth would not be pushed into blind retaliation. Its responses were measured, proportionate, and utterly unstoppable. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session, and unanimously voted to accept the Reckoning Protocol. For the first time in known history, the entire Council acknowledged a grievous wrong against an emerging species and agreed to make amends. On Earth, celebrations were muted. Victory brought no joy to those who had witnessed decades of exploitation and loss. Instead, there was a grim satisfaction that justice would finally be served. 3 months later, the first phase of the Reckoning Protocol began. Under the supervision of the Argosians, the only species that had consistently advocated for fair treatment of humans, representatives from each offending civilization arrived on Earth to acknowledge their transgressions. The Phyrexian ambassador, once arrogant and dismissive, knelt before the Earth Defense Council. On behalf of the Phyrexian hegemony, I formally acknowledge our violation of your sovereignty, our theft of your resources, and our deliberate suppression of your technological advancement. Similar scenes played out for weeks as species after species confronted their crimes against humanity. The reparations phase would take decades, returning stolen resources, providing advanced technology that had been deliberately withheld, dismantling exploitative structures on Earth and its colonies. In the final act of the protocol, humanity revealed its terms for rejoining galactic society. Admiral Chen, now serving as Earth's chief diplomat, addressed the full Galactic Council. Earth does not seek empire or domination. We sought only to be treated as equals, and when that was denied, we ensured you could never threaten us again. The blockades will be lifted under these conditions. First, a complete restructuring of the Galactic Council to ensure equal representation for all species, regardless of technological development. Second, the establishment of the Sol system as a sovereign territory with defined borders that no species may violate without explicit permission. Third, the creation of an interspecies tribunal to adjudicate future disputes, preventing the strong from exploiting the weak. One by one, the council members signaled their agreement. Not out of fear, though that certainly played a part, but out of a growing recognition that humanity had exposed fundamental flaws in galactic governance, flaws that had allowed powerful species to exploit emerging civilizations for centuries. As the protocol was formalized, Earth's warships began to withdraw from their blockade positions, not all at once, but gradually, methodically, maintaining the capability to reinstate the blockade at a moment's notice. General Hayes, watching from Earth Defense Command as the first ships returned home, turned to Dr. Wong. Was it worth it? All those years in the shadows, building, planning, waiting. She considered the question carefully. We didn't start this. We didn't want this. But when pushed to the edge, humanity proved what it's always known about itself. We will not go quietly into the night. As the stars opened up once more to galactic travel, a new reality settled across civilizations that had existed for millennia. Humanity was not to be underestimated. Not ever again. On distant planets, in the halls of power, and in the everyday lives of 1,000 different species, a simple truth was whispered with newfound respect. Earth remembers.